everyone, my name is Michaela Heron and I'm a dietetic intern with Grey Bruce Public Health, and I'm here today to show you how to make Greek chicken wraps. This meal is a go-to in my house because how quick and how tasty it is. It also contains the 3 food groups from Canada's Food Guide. The first one being whole grains, so we're going to be using whole grain pitas, and then we're going to be using cherry tomatoes and cucumbers for the second food group, fruit and vegetable. And then the third food group is protein foods, which we're going to be using chicken breast for. If you haven't tried a Greek style wrap before, I highly recommend it. They are delicious, and trying new flavors and new recipes is a really great way to improve your food skills and enjoy your food at the same time. Start with a medium-sized pan, and we're going to turn it on medium heat. And we're going to take about a tablespoon of oil and pour it into the pan. And we're going to let that heat while we cut up the chicken. If you have a chicken breast like I do, you may want to butterfly it. So this is a term meaning that you just make it thinner so it's easier to cook. It takes less time to cook through and it'll be juicier in the end. So we're going to start by taking the side of the chicken breast, and we're just going to go about halfway through and cut in the middle, and then we're going to stop about 1/4 inch from the end of the chicken breast, and then we are going to open it like a book. So it should look flat like that, and you can just continue cutting if it's not quite there yet. So now you see it's a lot flatter. So we're gonna cut it lengthwise. And just make small pieces. So the smaller the pieces are, the easier it is to cook, and it'll take less time, which we always want in the kitchen. Since chicken contains a bacteria called salmonella, we're gonna have to be really careful with where we touch our hands and where we touch any of the raw chicken. So I'm gonna wash my hands for about 20 seconds with warm water and soap. And I'm also going to disinfect all of the surfaces that the chicken touched. Now that the chicken is cut, we're going to take our heated pan and put the chicken into the pan. Make sure when you're done with this cutting board, you know that it has raw chicken on it, and you put it in an area like the dishwasher or the sink that you know you're not going to contaminate anything else with. Now we're going to season the chicken. So you can just use salt and pepper. So just a dash of both. Next, we're gonna add some oregano, about 1/2 teaspoon. This is optional, it just gives it a little bit more flavor. You can also use basil, Italian seasoning, any herbs or spices to give it more flavor, or you can just stick with the salt and pepper. While the chicken cooks, we're going to cut our veggies, and we're gonna start with the cucumber. So we're gonna just chop the top off of it. And then we are going to cut in small pieces, just thin slices, like this. And when you're cutting, make sure that you keep your fingers like this beside the knife so you don't cut your fingers. So I find this makes a good size for a wrap. So we're gonna go through and cut all of them into quarters. Now we're going to start cutting the tomatoes. So I use cherry tomatoes today, but you can use grape tomatoes, you can use regular tomatoes, any type works, and they're just as tasty. We're gonna slice the tomatoes across the middle, and we're gonna have 2 pieces, and then we're gonna cut those pieces lengthwise. So we're cutting it in 4. Tomatoes contain a powerful antioxidant called lycopene, and it's found in red foods like watermelon or tomatoes, and it protects against cancers, cardiovascular disease, and many diseases. The chicken now looks like it's done. You're not seeing any more pink, and it looks like it's thoroughly cooked through, but you can't trust that. So we're gonna take it away from the heat and we're gonna let it cool off for a second. It's really important to check the temperature of your meat after you cook it because, like I mentioned before, chicken contains or can contain the bacteria Salmonella. So we're just taking our digital thermometer and I'm going to put it in the middle of one of the pieces of chicken to make sure I get a good reading. And you want the temperature to be 74 degrees Celsius or higher, or in Fahrenheit, 165 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. And right now we're reading about 81, so we're good to go. Now we're gonna assemble the wraps. We're gonna start with taking the bits of chicken and lining them down the middle of the wrap. And then we're gonna take a few pieces of tomato, cucumber, and we're also gonna line them down the middle. You wanna keep it in the middle because we're gonna fold it at the end to eat it. You also don't wanna overfill it because when you go to eat it, everything will just fall out. So now, for the last step, you're going to add some tzatziki, which is my favorite part. The dip really makes it. And just put some on lightly. Once you have the tzatziki on, you can also add a little bit of feta crumbled on the wrap. This is optional. It adds just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of protein, but once again, it'll be really delicious without the feta too. There you go. And now we have a Greek chicken wrap. Enjoy.